Hey, everybody. So about a year ago, I was sitting here in the audience, and I was thinking, I still had my CTO job. I gave a talk about data privacy. Somehow, less people showed up for a talk about data privacy. And I was thinking, should I start a startup? Should I not start a startup? AI is happening, but also AI is happening. So I decided for science, I'll just start a startup and then report back here 1 year later. And the interesting thing about this is I applied for this talk kind of 1 month into actually starting the startup. So we'll see some real-world evidence of what it's actually looked like and not some cherry-picked example of a super successful thing. But where did it all start? So I joined an incubator in January. And together with that space cowboy there in the back, we were thinking, can't we just build a startup with AI that builds startups? In a way, everything you do as a founder can be automized, right? You can do ideation, validation, MVPs, everything. We could think of some tools, and for the rest, we'll just build agents, right? It's easy as that. That was the first week of the incubator. In the second week, it already looked very differently, and I'll just take you through all these steps and kind of describe a bit how much I could use AI and what actually happened. So ideation. In this incubator, we were 20, 30 people, and we did one massive list of ideas in one big Excel. So we had 1,000 ideas. This is my version of that list somewhere through the incubator. And to, I think, everybody's surprise, very few of those ideas at the end of the day were from AI. You'd think you just chat with AI, but you come up with good ideas. And also, in the beginning, everybody was worried that everybody would want to do the cool ideas. But somehow, everybody wanted to do very different ideas. And the reason for that is, of course, that everybody has a very unique background, a very unique context, very unique skills. So an idea that works for you is super different from a good idea for somebody else. And that's why AI, of course, doesn't have all your context, doesn't know all your skills. And I think that's one of the reasons why actually brainstorming with an AI for startup ideas is not super helpful. By this time, AI for Startup Builder is down here, so this is not what it became. We did some validation with deep research. Deep research was the big thing back then. These are I just went back and looked at some of my queries. Ketamine therapy and LMICs also didn't end up to be the startup idea to do it. And that was useful for some validation, some market research. But at the end of the day, it also wasn't super helpful. All right, we had an idea. An idea, of course, is not super helpful. What you then want to do with an idea is figure out, will somebody actually pay money for this? And that's called validation. And for validation, what you try to do is you just talk to as many people as you can find. This is my calendar from a conference during that time. I just booked one-on-ones without end, just trying to talk to people, figure out, I have these ideas, would you buy this, basically? And you do this, in my case, mostly personal connections, my friends, LinkedIn cold outreach. I had somebody who just did the Entrepreneur First Bootcamp, and he basically described that bootcamp as a LinkedIn academy. You learn how to cold outreach to as many people as possible to figure out if your idea is actually a good idea. In-person events like this, some warm intros. But all of this, again, you can't really do with agents, right? It's very in-person. It's very hard to find these people. So if you find somebody, you don't really want to have an AI talk to them. And even trying to find people to validate with, some of my friends tried with AI, just lots of cold outreach. But in most cases, it just didn't really work that well, at least in February 25. OK, so we did some ideation, we did some validation. Next thing is, of course, MVP. And that's where, at least in my case, AI was magic. And I think we've all learned this by now. Maybe a bit how it worked for me. And maybe now is also good time to talk about what the startup actually does. So I founded donethat.ai. It's the link up there. If you ever get bored in this talk, just go there and download the app. What it does, the idea is it just takes screenshots every 5 minutes or faster, puts the screenshots into an LLM. The LLM understands what you're working on, and it kind of reconstructs your workday, your calendar. It's a bit like time tracking on steroids, but then also with a work coach and that kind of stuff. And there's, of course, 100 questions there if this would ever work. And one of them is technical feasibility. And for this, the first version, I coded basically over a weekend with Cursor. It was a macOS native app. You see it there in the back. And the great thing about this was I had something that was working that I could then show in demos with potential clients. And that was already enough to then validate and then see people are OK, how much does it cost? Can I have it now? was like, okay, like there seems to be something useful there. But of course, like it didn't work. It was all fake. So the next version was I did one with Tauri, which is like a desktop framework for Rust, and ScreenPipe, which is like an open source framework. And that didn't work at all. And I think the reason for this not working was like AI just wasn't really trained on that kind of data. It was like very exotic packages. So in the end, what I ended up doing is like I used very standard packages. Electron is like a super standard desktop app framework. Firebase I used mostly because I used it before. Otherwise, I should have used Superbase. But the important thing is like AI really knows those frameworks, so it's much easy to do the right thing if you prompt AI. I also, during that time, learned like a very new emotion. Like I felt anger that I never felt before, like towards AIs. And when they got stuff wrong. I was a manager before, I think I was a good one. I've never felt that anger as a manager. And it took some like learning that doesn't help. AI won't learn. Just open a new window and like try again. And this is also about the time when I started registering for this talk. So everything that comes afterwards now is like, we see what happened. Okay, so we have an MVP, we have validated it. Next thing is, of course, building a brand. That, again, sounds like AI should be able to do this, right? This is my chat from back then. I actually thought AI came up with the donethat name, but turns out it didn't. Turns out I had a few ideas. Back then, the idea was donelist. It's from a book called Meditations for Mortals. Great book, if you haven't read it. It's about like how to have like more productive relationship with work. And as always with AI is like, oh, these ideas are great. You should take this one. Instead of like properly criticizing. And eventually I just came up with a name. I then tried to come up with a logo. This is what I thought would be a good logo. I won't read you the prompt because it's going to take too long. I was like, oh, maybe that's because like image models back then were bad. I tried it 2 days ago. Still looks very bad. You can also argue that my current logo looks very bad. This like people call it a logo done by a CTO, and it is a logo done by a CTO. But I'd still argue it's better than this. And how I got there was I used, I think, the Google image models back then, like for like half a day, like try to prompt it into Illustrator, from Illustrator, then fix it. It's like a logo. No, you'd think like at least a logo AIs can do, but not so easy. By the way, I tried to do this presentation with AI tools and also gave up very quickly. Okay, we have brand, we have an MVP, we have customer demand. Let's try to raise some money. Again, something where using AI is not super helpful. I never did this before. I never had investor friends before. So what I learned is like to fundraise, you need lots of warm intros, trust. People, of course, there's like so many people building random apps. Like, why should they give you money? A great team. I had my AI co-founder, so investors didn't think an AI co-founder was a great team back then, at least. Good story, traction, and much less than before product, right? Because now everybody can now like vibe code some kind of product. So like when you want to raise money, having a prototype is actually much less important nowadays than it used to be because like, everybody can just do it. Like it's not something that sets you apart. So I didn't try very long, but when I tried, I didn't get a lot of response. But what I also learned then is like, what would I actually use the money for, right? Like I can build myself. AI isn't very expensive. I wouldn't really hire developers now, right? I wouldn't really like do paid ads now, like that's way too early. Now what I need to do is like iterate as fast as possible to find an app that actually has so much pull that I can't handle it myself anymore. And that's a good time to raise money because then of course it's also much easier to raise money. So that's what I did and just started bootstrapping. Okay, once we are here, of course the next step is building, right? This MVP, I had it like good enough that like a few friends paid me €5 for it. I like put a little Stripe integration in to see if I can do it, make it work end to end. But like strangers from the internet, of course, would never give me money for that thing. And I came up with this kind of matrix over time for how I code it. I think if something is reversible, so like if you can easily do an update, and if it's safe, so if it doesn't touch any data, then I just completely vibe coded everything. Website and front end are like 2 examples of this. Actually, I mean, I've been working on this now 5 months, right? But yesterday, I just actually went into the code and was like, what's actually the framework I'm using for the website and the front end? Because like maybe people here want to know. And I just didn't know because it's like really like completely vibe coded. It's Next.js in case you wondered. The first version was V0 because I heard here from somebody last year about the V0 demo. Well, the app is, of course, a very different story, right? I need an app that runs on Linux, on Windows, on Mac. Once somebody installs this app, getting them to update the app is a bit of a pain. It touches like all the sensitive data. Like there, usually what I do is architect with ChatGPT and then do something I call write drunk, edit sober. So I just vibe until it works. And when it works, I like go through the code line by line by line and like figure out, okay, like is this actually how I want it? We duplicate some code here. This should be architected in a different way. And that seems to work. And then anything backend is just like super babysitted, if at all. In the beginning, I code a lot myself. And then like I got a bit more comfortable for like small changes. But I'm just terrified of like any kind of security issues. So anything there is like very manual. Yeah. All right, but of course, I think a lot of people in this audience have the intuition, okay, it ends there, no? Like you have a great product, done, people will come. The problem is, of course, that's not how it works. And the next thing you want to do is grow. And everybody, like, and their mom, has like a different idea for how you should grow. I put all the things I tried here on the left, and I probably forgot some things. And as you can already see from that list, like a lot of things you can't really do with AI, right? I put a little AI emoji where I tried some AI. In most cases, it didn't really work, or like it didn't give you a big boost. You can, of course, like do, I don't know, like for a LinkedIn post, I use some AI. To review draft, I use some AI. I actually can write posts faster myself than like iterate with AI because I'm just like annoyed with what they suggest. I used to build a mini app that was fun, but then nobody wanted the mini app, so that didn't really help. I wrote a crawler for a conference to crawl all the participants, to then message all the participants. I was like super proud like that I finally found an AI use case that works. But then the conference amp was broken, so like nobody actually replied to the messages. So yeah, in summary, like not really useful, the whole AI for growth. I think what I learned trying all these things, that growth is really about two things, and that's like you want to have awareness and you want to have trust, right? Especially with an app like mine, where I basically screenshot your thing all the time. You need like a lot of trust, but even for others, right? And there, it's trust that I actually understand your need, right? So you feel understood that I will solve your problem. It's your trust in my competence that I'm actually a trustworthy person that like won't run away with your data and do like weird stuff, and trust that I'm also reliable and can deliver on this stuff, right? Like social proof, showing people using the app, these kind of things. And if you then look at all the things here on the left through that perspective, all of a sudden, like some things make a lot more sense than others. Like for example, posting on Reddit is a terrible idea because you're literally a stranger on the internet with like no backstory. So when I actually did post on Reddit without thinking about this was the only reply I got. It was a DM from somebody who was like, hey, you're the technical founder? I found a security issue. Like, can you please give me money to fix your security issue? And I later found out from another founder friend that this exact same person also texted that guy. So he found his niche there for making money, let's just say. Okay. One last story about launching. Of course, you should also launch on Product Hunt, right? So I did my Product Hunt launch. I did what everybody told me. It's like, you tell everybody in your Slack communities, you tell everybody who already uses the app, all your friends, it's like upvote, upvote, upvote. So I did. I ended up on like place 16 out of 200 that day, which is like nice, but you want to be top 5, otherwise this doesn't really work. And then all these people showed up on LinkedIn, and I was like, hey, I saw you launch a Product Hunt, like for a little money, I can give you more upvotes. And initially I was like, this is of course, like they'll filter these out, this doesn't make any sense. And then I talked to some friends and they're like, oh no, this actually works. I was like, okay, maybe for science, let's try this again. So this is what happened. In the first little bump there, I asked somebody, I'm not sure if I can trust you, just give me some upvotes and we'll see if it works, and then maybe I'll give you some money. And it worked. I was like, okay, I mean, maybe this is just working, and maybe all the news out there that Product Hunt is filtering out that stuff are wrong. So I paid them, and they gave me some more upvotes. And then I paid another guy, and all of a sudden everything stopped. And all my friends trying to upvote stuff also couldn't upvote it anymore. So I do not recommend doing this in case you ever launch on Product Hunt. One positive aspect of this, though, was that one of the things I did to find users to upvote my app was I posted on the Effective Altruism forum. Does anybody here know what effective altruism is? If not, like you should totally look it up. It's like the most amazing people out there. It's like nerds trying to do as much good as possible, using rationality and like their career and stuff. And of course, like they are very focused on being productive, because being productive means you can improve the world more. So I posted on their forum and stayed on the front page for a week and got like 150 people downloading the app and like a lot of users now. So I think this is just one example of the old story that you don't want to go broad. You want to find your like unique audience that actually can use your product and actually trusts you, and like go full on there, and then later kind of branch out. All right, this is kind of where I am. I think the two lessons I really learned from all of this is like the reasons why startups work and why big companies don't, right? Like there's 100,000 time tracker apps out there. Like why is nobody of them doing this? Like somebody told me, if you're a startup founder, you don't believe in efficient markets by definition, because if you would, you shouldn't found a startup, right? And I think the reason that startups work is, of course, you can go much faster, right? So in AI, this is true, or with AI, this is even more true now, right? You can just iterate faster, 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 faster. There's like so many little tweaks in this app that I only found because like I did something, looked at the reaction, did something again, looked at the reaction, improved, improved, improved. And you just do the same on the growth side. And I would recommend that if you think about starting something, start there on the right, try to find an audience, try to figure out how you can actually market to them, and then building the product is actually not the easy part, but for most of us here, the easier part, of course. Okay, thank you very much. I'm not sure if we have time for a few questions.